So, I guess for this first cold open, I don't really know exactly what I'm going to do with it. I don't even know if this is going to be the one that's in the video, but I'm kind of just trying to get a vibe of what it is that I'm really going for here. If it's just going to be me just rambling, or if I have a particular fixation that I want to touch on. I probably should have had something more prepared before I started recording this video, or this voice memo. Well, right now, I'll just talk about what I'm doing. It's Valentine's Day at time of recording this cold open. And as of right now, I am waiting in the parking lot at my girlfriend's work establishment. It is nearly 10:30 p.m. I was expecting her to get off at 10 o'clock, and she has yet to get off, but that's okay. I'm not worried about it, but I have some candy and some roses that I'm sure would feel much appreciated if she were here to receive them. But as all things go. But I used to be kind of a hater of Valentine's Day. I still don't love it just because it's just made up, I guess. But what isn't, So maybe fucking get over yourself is kind of where I'm at. It's nice to have an extra day of emphasis to show appreciation to your partner. Not that, you don't need a day to do that, but it's cool to have an extra day to hey, just make sure you tell your person that you love them, So yeah, that's what I'm up to. And cool. Welcome into the most unfocused show possibly in the history of the world, Fear of Boredom, with your host Freddie of Freddie Eats Media. Got a very exciting first episode for this new show for you. This show has gone under various different creative ideas and changes, but I think it's safe to say we have an official jumping off point to get this thing started. So, what is Fear of Boredom? Well, simply it's a show to try to keep some sort of focus around my media viewing experiences. I love all various kinds of art and want nothing more than just have some sort of avenue to talk about my feelings on those pieces of art. And other media factors as well. If you want to argue that sports isn't art, I plan to talk about that as well. And this is the way that I'm going to do it, through this show. It's going to be sort of all over the place with ramblings that may or may not have an overarching point, but I will be here to guide you through all of it. You'll be able to pick up on it, I'm sure, but just think of when you see me here as a sort of home base where you'll be able to reset before moving on to different segments. But without further ado, I think it's time we begin our show. One, as mentioned, I'm very excited for. We will begin with some ramblings about current events, things in our media-driven world that I took particularly interest in this week. We will then take a look at this past weekend's box office numbers, later touch on some of the biggest news across the media landscape, like my thoughts on this year's SAG winners, and finally taking a stop at the fixation station. And with that, my ghouls and girlies, welcome to the show. So, as I just got done saying, we will begin our show with my feelings on some current events, or more specifically, things that are affecting me currently. Because that's what really matters. How I feel about everything going on. We'll start this series being a little late this week, starting with my feelings on the current state of superhero films, then go into my reactions from this year's NBA dunk contest, and then continue on that kind of NBA train with some of my personal reflections on the recent Luka Doncic trade. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, so currently driving home from work and wanted to have a few words about something that hits my mind, and think what I'm going to talk about, I wanted to kind of get my thoughts about the current state of like superhero media and how oversaturated it's gotten within the last like decade and a half or so. And it's weird because like if you would have asked me when I was like 15 or 16, the current world that we're living in would have been my dream, I feel like. But I'm not so sure if that's even the case, because I feel like when I was that age, I was in the dream. Like, I was in the comic book stuff. I got into the Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy when I was really young, and that led me into being a fan of the X-Men, started watching those movies. The Dark Knight trilogy was super, super impactful on my adolescence as well. And it's funny because the MCU was such a pinnacle part of like my generation's life, right? Like, I remember seeing the first Iron Man in theaters when I was 7 years old, I think. Is that 08? I think the movie came out in 08, so I'd be 7 years old when that movie came out. And then Endgame came out when I was 18 years old. Which, thinking about that, is always so crazy to me. Like, literally, my adolescence into my adulthood was the Infinity Saga in the MCU. And now, So, the reason I'm bringing this up is because Captain America Brave New World just came out. And it was one that I was excited for because I liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier as a TV show. It was like the last Disney Plus show I think I watched, because I'm so behind on the shows, which is another thing that I'll get to in a moment. But I liked what they did with Sam Wilson's character in that, and I was excited to see how he would become this version of Cap and this new status quo of the universe. And I haven't seen it yet, but one, from the trailers, there was just some feeling I had while watching it that this was going to be another kind of slog, you know? Because if we look at the track record of Phase 4, I'm not the biggest fan, as most people aren't. I mean, I'll go on the hot take and say that I enjoy Eternals. That might be one of my favorite from Phase 4. I'm not sure. I don't have the list in front of me, and I'm currently driving right now, so I'm not going to... This is all off the dome, but... Phase 4 was rather disappointing. Thor Love and Thunder sucked. Doctor Strange 2 was cool in some moments, but overall mid. And while I have friends telling me that they liked Captain America, the kind of overall consensus I'm hearing is that it's like the king of mid. And I'm just tired of that being kind of the norm for these movies. And I know that this one had a lot going at it. It had the writer's strike. It had... obviously still reeling from the effects of COVID, I'm sure. And I guess I bring all this up because I don't know whether or not I'll ever be into these line of movies ever as much as I was before, you know? I don't think that there will ever be a point where my obsession and, I guess, just fan involvement in this universe will ever reach the heights that it once did. And that's really sad. And I don't know. I don't know what they need to do different. I don't really have any kind of wise words for where this universe should go, but it seems like that they are definitely taking some of the fans' thoughts into consideration. Seems like they're massively slowing the fuck down on production, focusing more on quality rather than quantity, which is kind of the main issue amongst all of this, if you ask me. Because, as I said, I watched WandaVision, I watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I think that's it. And I don't even know how many shows I'm behind of. I can name probably at least like 5 that I haven't seen, which is like 5 too many, because I stopped watching maybe 2 years ago is when I stopped following like super heavily. There's been several movies that I've missed that I just don't really have the desire to go see, I guess, just because I missed it, and I've heard conversations surrounding it, and everyone's like, it's kind of not worth checking out anyways, and I want to be able to have those opinions for myself, but man, I'm just like kind of exhausted by all this. But I don't know. I hope
I'm excited for the Doom stuff, even if the whole Robert Downey Jr. shit is kind of strange and I don't really know exactly where my feelings lie on that. I think it could be cool. I think if it's done right, he is the right guy to play a role of that caliber, but it's just kind of getting I guess the whole thing is just trying to get that, like normal everyday movie going audience to buy into the Iron Man actor now being a different character. But I don't know. I don't really know exactly my point on this. Is just that just upsets me. Like I love Deadpool and Wolverine, so it still gives me hope that there's cool stuff in the future. I think that had the right balance of kind of cameo worthy stuff while also holding together an entertaining story. And I'm really excited for what the DCU has planned. My most anticipated film is Superman coming out. I need to check out Creature Commando, but I like James Gunn. I've loved his work thus far in the superhero media. Still need to check out Peacemaker, but I'm excited. I think they're kind of doing the right thing, and I'm hoping that it's kind of along the lines of you can watch these movies by themselves and still have ample amount of enjoyment within them, but if you watch them as a collective, you'll gain more than the normal audience, but it won't you won't be punished if you don't, and I don't know how they find that balance, but that's kind of what my hopes are. But Superman looks good. I'm super excited. I am still excited for the other MCU releases like Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four. I'll still check out Brave New World at some point. And so I hope this show helps me do. I hope this show just gets me motivated to watch more things that I was once interested in, or if I have an obligation by a certain segment that we'll get to later on, then I can do it that way. But I don't know. I like superhero media, and I just want it to be exciting and good again and not feel stale. So.
Alrighty, we're going handheld for this one. Hoping that me holding the mic doesn't affect the audio too much, but I want to talk about the dunk contest. I just got done watching it for the second time. My first viewing was in a bar on my phone, and so semi-distracted, you could say. And my overall takeaway is I'm really on the fence. What I had written down, when I had the idea that this was something I wanted to talk about, I did watch it on mute, so there is that. Got to keep that in consideration. But it felt very manufactured and very designed for Mac McClung to win his third in a row. Because it's no secret that All-Star Weekend has kind of dropped in terms of, I don't know, respectability, I guess you could say. And definitely felt like they've kind of put all their eggs and put all the weight on Mac's shoulders to kind of bring life into this competition that has kind of been dying out since the 2016 one. And now that I've watched it, I couldn't watch the full broadcast again, with audio. So I didn't hear all of the commentary that was happening throughout, but I heard at least through the completed dunks. And with that, that's only further kind of solidified my idea in that, or my thought in that, because at least throughout the entire final round, they're saying how this man saved the dunk contest, this man is saving the dunk contest, and I feel like that's just kind of what NBA was kind of relying on. So, because I don't know. I understand that it's hard to get stars to do it, which maybe not now, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I understand it's hard to get stars to compete in these type of competitions out of risk of injury or whatnot. Because you're telling me that fucking Giannis is gonna jump over a Kia like that and potentially hit his fucking leg on the car like Mac did. No, like they would not allow that to happen. But fucking Modest Buzelis and I don't remember his name, Andre Jackson Jr. Just pitiful performances all around. They had decent ideas, but like when I was first watching it, that first dunk that Buzelis was trying to do, that kind of bounce between his leg, catch it under, like as after it goes under and dunking it. I'm not confident he's ever completed that, like in his life. Like when he was slated to do the dunk contest, he practiced it multiple times. I do not believe he ever got it, just by how like off he looked at doing it. Like I was not confident in the slightest that he was going to get that down. And maybe he did, but he did it like once and called it. Like he said, "Awesome, that's one. That's in my arsenal now." But I don't know, man. Like the dunk contest is just, I understand like its drop in excitement towards, but in that kind of upsets me because I so the reason I'm jumping all over the place. The reason that I say that I'm on the fence is maybe I'm just an old fuck at this point. Like maybe I'm just turning into a grumpy old man when it comes to this kind of stuff, because I'll be like, well, back in my day, we had fucking Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine, right? And people prior to that, like, if there's a dead period dunk contest, people probably were like, oh, I don't know, I'm trying to think of early 2000s guys, like Jason Richardson or fucking Nate Robinson and shit like that. So, and I remember being a kid and like I had like one of those indoor basketball hoop things, and I would watch different years of the dunk contests and then just try to like recreate that in my bedroom type shit. And I could see where there are kids out there watching this performance, because I gotta hand it to Mac. The shit he was doing was fucking crazy. Like my favorite isn't the car one. It's honestly that one. It's just playing now, ironically. But like every time I watch this, I appreciate it more and more. And it's the one where he comes from the baseline and jumps over the dude and kind of waits a second before he rotates and dunks. Like he dunks to his left side, so kind of like away from the basket, and then dunks it in. Every time I watch that, I appreciate it more. Like that dunk's fucking sick. And also got to hand it to Stephon Castle. He did have a solid performance. I hate that I'm giving this much like analytical commentary on it, but like at least they were fun. Like, but it didn't feel like it felt like the NBA was talking to Mac about the dunks he was gonna do, and like obviously they had the prep bringing out a fucking car and shit like that. And I just don't feel like that was the same for like a Stephon Castle. You know what I mean? And another thing, I just had a thought, but I think, I just remember it. So like maybe I'm wrong, and I should have been trying to pick this up more as I've been watching, but do they just have like hired guys to stand in and hold the ball over their head now? So I feel like I saw like the same. Who the fuck's dude with the white shirt? Is he just some dude? Like, is that like a job now? Because I've looked at salaries for like the fucking floor scrubbers. They make like 50K or something like that. And if Cincinnati ever gets a fucking NBA team, I'm putting in an application immediately. But what's the rate of that? Like how do you get that gig? How do you get the gig of fucking standing there and having dude put his nuts over your head for like half a second as he dunks a basketball creatively? I don't know. I don't really know where the point of this is going. I wish the dunk contest was better. And oh, now I remember I was gonna return to this point, so I'm really glad I did. I guess fucking I don't think anything's gonna come from it, but who was it? It was fucking Ja and Giannis. That's why I brought up Giannis earlier too. So Ja and Giannis are fucking like subtweeting saying like, "Oh, this shit make me want to dunk, and if you do it, I'll do it." I think was what Giannis said. And there was a third that fucking commented something too. I can't remember what it was. Damn. Oh, it was Zach Levine. Zach Levine was saying he was gonna like do it again or something, like teasing that. And like, sure, if that shit happens, cool. But I don't know. I don't know if I buy it. I don't buy Giannis. Ja would be cool. Like obviously Ja, like that's kind of. He said he was gonna quit dunking, and then just did not quit dunking in the slightest. That man, that man loves dunking as much as he loves guns. Like seriously. But also, yeah, the platform that Mobley stands on is fucking stupid. I hate that. That's probably not a hot take, but that's fucking dumb. Just get a slightly taller guy. Like Wemby's right there. They even said on the broadcast that Wemby probably said he didn't want to do it, which is fair. I mean, I wouldn't want someone to try that. I'm fucking tall as hell. You ain't clearing me. I'm tall as fuck, dude. I don't know. I guess my overall point is like, yeah, like this shit is just lame at this point, and like I don't want Mac McClung to be back next year. Like it's kind of ran its course. I think we've beaten this horse as far as we can, unless he starts doing some crazy shit. But I just feel like in the state of the internet that we have and how easily it is, like, because similarly to me looking at dunk contests like highlights on YouTube, I would then just find like online dunkers because that was just shit that I thought was cool. So I would find dudes, your Jordan Kilgannon or whatever his name is, like that guy coming out during the dunk contest and doing some crazy shit. Like that's literally what's hurting it, in my opinion. I think it's just how accessible it is to for us to find these freak athletes that aren't in the NBA do just this and figure out and train and practice the craziest of shit. So when we see fucking dude do 360 behind the back, it's not as, it's not as as it probably should be, because it's sick. Like it is cool, but I don't know. I think it's gonna come back around. In all honesty, I think maybe if stars start doing it again, that will help tremendously. But this can get worse. Remember when the dunk contest had teams? That shit stunk. Remember that? It could be worse. It could be way worse. But I don't know. Yeah. We are about 3 weeks removed from arguably the biggest trade in NBA history, if not in the history of American sports. I remember, so I'll be a little transparent about this, about where I was when all of this went down. So I recall, I'm not sure what the stressors were, but me and my girlfriend on the 1st of February were having some sort of disagreement that sort of then grew to a, a little bit of an argument, you could say. And I just remember mid argument, we are kind of at the point where we're just not speaking anymore. It's like no one really like got through to the other. We're both kind of just not hearing the other out, and that happens. It's rare, but that can happen. And just to preface this, we are all good. Do not like take this any kind of way. We're all good. And I remember just looking at my phone, looking to distract myself, and seeing an ESPN notification saying that Luka Doncic has just been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a future first round pick. And the first thing that I said in the same room as my girlfriend for like the past 3 minutes was, what the fuck? Oh my fucking God. To which she thinks I'm reacting to something completely different, and I have to like break the tension basically and be like, hey, so I know we're like in the middle of something, but the craziest fucking thing just happened, so we gotta put that on the back burner for a second. So yeah, that was my 9/11 Luka Doncic trade story, and I gotta say, 3 weeks removed, and it still doesn't feel real. Like every day, I think to myself that there's no fucking shot. Like there's no chance. Yesterday, he had a 30-point game against. I don't even remember who it was against. I don't even give a fuck. He was just so cold. It was. I watched the highlights this morning, and it was like the first thing I did this morning. Saw he scored 30. Tried to find the highlights. Found the highlights, and dude, it's just fucking stupid. Him and LeBron on the same team is fucking stupid. I don't give a damn how old LeBron is. He can still, about like fucking 4 times a game, run full speed from half court and receive an outlet pass from Luka Doncic, and it'd be the coolest fucking thing I've seen all week. And I'm okay with that. And I don't know if I mentioned it. I don't at all in this episode. The making of this episode has been super fucking sloppy, so I don't know if I've mentioned it. But I am a Celtics fan. I've been a Celtics fan since 2012. Uh, Rajon Rondo was my first favorite player, so that kind of had a huge development into that. But I'm just gonna come right out and say this, and this probably makes me like the most uber fucking casual, most like fake fan energy alert, which is fair. I'm super casual. I'm not trying to say that I'm like super about this shit, but I do not fucking care, like, ultimately about the Celtics Lakers rivalry as it stands today. Like, if fucking Luca and LeBron go on a run, and like, yeah, I got the Celtics root on in the East, but especially if it becomes like Celtics Lakers in the finals, like, that's something that I want to see, and it would be cool to beat that. But say if, like, tragically the fucking Celtics go out, like, conference finals, even in the semis. I don't know. The East, some of the East teams are looking a little tough, but and the Lakers go on this insane run. Like fuck me, but I'm rooting for the Lakers. Like, like I don't give a fuck. Like that shit. That's just Nico Harrison is a damn fool, and there people have said smarter things with smarter analysis about this man and his decision making regarding this trade, and nothing that I can say could add any sort of grand insight. But like watching the highlights doesn't feel real. I'm like, this is not a real game. They're playing a fucking trick on us. And like, it's funny that like, not to get like kind of super political, but I'm gonna get a little political. But like, since Trump got inaugurated and like the entire fucking world seems like it's ending, and then we get like the Luka Doncic trade, which I saw a tweet about this, but it fits right in with the vibe of the events that we were reading in the news, anyways. And then now like Wembenyama is fucking out for the rest of the season because of like blood clots or something. What the fuck is going on? What the hell? The 2025 is the year from fucking hell already. Like they were not fucking playing. That's probably not a funny joke, but like damn, they were not fucking playing. I don't know. I don't even know exactly what the point of this segment is. I just needed a third segment, and I wanted to like get my opinions out on the whole Luca thing. It's so crazy. He's so fucking good, and like it was funny how we saw JJ Redick said that he wanted to see a blackout moment, and then I guess sort of got that. I mean, he yelled like that was definitely a thing he did against in that game. He definitely yelled at players. He should have gotten or on at the ref, but I don't know, he just fucking cooked, and it's kind of cool to see. And it was especially cooler because there is a podcast that I listened to called The Coping Hour. I can't remember if it was on this or if it was on the Shoot Around that Nick Henkel was also on with Rusty Buckets, but it was on one of those two programs where they said that I think it was Shoot Around where they said that just fucking Luca looks weird as hell in the Lakers uniform, and that they were maybe it wasn't them at all. I think maybe it was numbers on the. I don't know. I'm high as fuck. I'm not gonna lie. I'm I'm just fucking rambling. It might not even been them at all. It might have been numbers on the board with Kenny Beecham. One of those. Someone made a point at some point. This is awful, awful podcasting. But good thing this isn't a podcast. This is a audiovisual show. it's we Someone made the point that like he may look better in the purple unis. I honestly think it was now numbers on the board. They said that he might look better in the purple uniforms, and it's kind of cool that his first 30-point game, they're wearing the purples, and it actually like looks cool because he looks goofy as fuck in the yellows. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't know. And I also just kind of wanted to like out myself already about how I just like don't give a fuck about some rivalries. Like there's certain rivalries that I'll probably get into that like I do care for, like Bengals Steelers. Like yeah, sure, but like also I'm not like an asshole. Like I don't know. Like I don't like flip flip off Steelers fans as they leave the stadium, which is something that happened when I was at a home Bengals game, and I was like, this is fucking like loser shit. Like I'm not gonna lie, this is like loser behavior, but whatever. Um, like the Louisville Cardinals, like yeah, whenever they play Kentucky, I want to like fucking rip their heads off. But like the year 2013 when they quote unquote didn't win the national championship, um, I don't know, like that was kind of cool. It was kind of cool that it stayed in Kentucky for 2 years, like basketball supremacy. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I'll probably get more in detail on certain things as this show goes along. But just wanted to get my shit off about that. So yeah. Wow, wasn't that nice and inspiring? Really bold look at things, Freddie. Truly a remarkable mind. Alright, folks, how about we transition into something that really matters money. Here's a look at this past weekend's box office report. So, for this past weekend's domestic box office report, we have Captain America Brave New World securing that number one spot for the second week in a row. It did suffer a nearly 70% drop from the previous week, so not looking great for the overall numbers. As of right now, the total gross is 140 million worldwide. Number two, we have the first week of the release of The Monkey, the new Oz Perkins horror film. Excited to see that one. Haven't gotten a chance to check it out, but hope to see it soon. Number three, we have Paddington in Peru, the third of the Paddington franchise. I have seen the first one. I adore it, and I still need to watch two before I check out Peru. Number four, we have Dogman on its fourth week, still garnering in 6 million from this past weekend, with a total worldwide box office at 78 million. And then number five, we have Hard Eyes on its third week at 2 million this past weekend, suffering a 70% drop from last week. But kind of makes sense. It was like a specifically Valentine's Day movie, so I mean that makes sense. Its worldwide totals are at 26 million right now. I have seen none of these movies. Why do I care so much? Isn't it great to highlight the continuing accomplishments of big budget corporations? Why do I find interest in this? I'll never tell. Sorry. Anyways, we got some actual news topics to get through, so strap in or click ahead. I don't really care. So, for this first week of the news segment, I'm going to just be upfront and say pretty much for the entirety of this first episode, I am not as prepared as I wish I were. So, we're going to kind of spitball through most of these. I don't really have a lot of thoughts on the majority of them. They're just things that I either seen or read about that felt interesting enough to note. So, we're first going to just briefly touch on Greg Popovich not returning to the Spurs for the foreseeable future. He did suffer a mild stroke earlier, was it late last year? I can't quite remember, but certainly seems like there's some health concerns going with him. So, obviously, Greg Popovich is one of the greatest coaches in NBA history, if not the. And it seems like it's probably about time that he will no longer be a part of the sport. Now, it is super upsetting that this seems to be due to health concerns rather than on his own accord, but regardless of the reasoning, it's going to be different to not see him around the sport, and I just really hope for the best of his health and the family around him. Next, we did get a first look at Matt Damon as Odysseus in the upcoming Christopher Nolan film. I don't have much to comment on this other than, I mean, he looks cool. We kind of knew he was going to be Odysseus based on how he was answering press questions, saying, "I've got a journey ahead of me," which is like literally the fucking show in the Odyssey, or the fucking story, whatever. But yeah, he looks good. I'm pretty excited for this film. I don't know, like, I didn't study the Odyssey in school, like, ever. So all I know is that it is like an extensive journey of some sort. But yeah, I don't know. Christopher Nolan makes a movie. I'm probably gonna check it out. Next, we have something that I read upon today on Blue Sky. Actually, is that James Gunn confirms that there is a Teen Titans movie in development. Now, of course, we have kind of already understood that this iteration of the DC universe under James Gunn is going to have a lot of established characters, specifically within the Bat family. So it's no surprise that we are going to have kind of already, whether it's the start of the Teen Titans, but there's enough young characters established to form a Teen Titan, so that's pretty interesting. Um, I wonder, I guess, who the Robin would be. I'm not super, I guess, read up on Teen Titans lore. I know that in some cases it's Dick, in some cases it's Tim. So I'm very curious on who that is, because I know that we're supposed to have an entire established family, and by my understanding, I thought Dick Grayson was kind of gonna have aged out of the like Teen Titans role. You know what I mean? But who's to say? I'm excited to see it. Um, so now to get a little silly, the Department of Housing and Urban Development was playing this video, this AI generated video, on their screens, like the actual screens throughout the office. I don't know what this means. I literally just saw it before I started posting and was like, I at least gotta mention this. I don't know what the ramifications of this are, but it's funny nonetheless. And then finally, we're going to round this out with my thoughts on the SAG Awards. I fucking fooled you. I didn't watch them. I haven't seen, like, any of the movies nominated. We're not talking about it. I'm glad Timothy won. Well, I think that concludes this week's edition of the news. How about we change gears and allow me to introduce the staple segment of this show, the Fixation Station. Okay, so the fixation station may seem complicated, but it's really rather simple. And to start, I'm going to give a little backstory. This began as an unsuccessful series I wanted to do called Horror Roulette, where simply I would have a horror film or franchise selected for me to watch at random from a spinner wheel. It was unsuccessful in the sense that around that time that I came up with the idea, I lost a lot of motivation in myself and just didn't continue. So now that idea has evolved into the fixation station. So for this, each week, or not each week, but each week we will at least touch on the different fixation selections. Meaning, I'm going to have one artist, one comic book run, one TV series, and one film or film franchise that I will at least have my sights on and have some sort of at least focus that it's at the top of my watch list. You know what I mean? So basically, we'll have different wheels for each of the different forms of media. The first wheel being the artist wheel, for example, will have several different musical artists on it. We'll spin it. Whoever it selects, that artist is now who I'm going to listen to the entirety. I've actually, I believe I say, I've already done the wheel segment. I believe I say I give myself a 2 album minimum, but regardless, I dive into their music and then report my thoughts on next week's episode. Now, for this first episode, we're obviously going to have a selection for each of the different categories, but that will not always be the case for the episodes to follow. So, like, maybe I'll have a film series where there's only like two or three, and then pick an artist that I end up like falling in love with that has 10 albums I have to get through, you know what I mean? So the timing on when we will respin for certain categories may vary, so just to put that out there. I think that's enough information for you to get a general understanding of how the fixation station will work. So yeah, without further ado, we'll have Freddie with the wheel segment. Hi, hello, welcome to the wheel section of the fixation station. I hope that I've given some sort of introduction to what this segment of the show will be, so we'll just jump right into the wheels. Up first, we're going to have which artists that I am going to try to do a deep dive on and see what my overall feelings are. I have 51 on this wheel. We're going to go ahead and shuffle it. So I'm going to put at least a 2 album limit on myself. I'll listen to 2 albums, and if I want to keep going, I will. And if I don't have to. But I must listen to at least 2. And we have ASAP Rocky. So background, ASAP is already one of my favorite rappers currently working today. I mean, if you can call him working, he hasn't dropped in however many years, but I'm a big fan of his. I think the only album that I've missed is his first mixtape. So yeah, this will be quite an easy one, but I'm excited to share my thoughts on him. It is funny because I think as of time of recording, he is currently on trial for a gun assault charge. So very very timely indeed. So maybe I'll have some feelings about that sprinkled in there. Next, we have the comic book run that I will be engaging in. And for this one, I only have Marvel characters as of right now, just because I have a subscription for Marvel Unlimited. So, very easy access towards. Once I have more funds, or if I end up getting the DC equivalent, then those characters will obviously be added. But as of right now, we have 105 Marvel characters to choose from, and basically the rules of this is I have to pick some sort of run, several issues long, that focus upon whichever character is selected. Because some of these are villains that may not have their own line, but they'll have runs that are important to the establishment of that character. Gonna give this one a couple shuffles as well, and then spin. I'm excited about this one. I haven't read comics in quite a long time. I want to get more into it and kind of expand my boundaries a little bit. And we have fucking Ant-Man to choose from. Now, the early version of this wheel did have 3 different Ant-Man slices for each person who donned the role. But then I just decided that's kind of oversaturated. If I did that with every character, Spider-Man would have 8 slices or something. I decided to just leave it up to me to which version I choose from. And yeah, so let's see. I'm going to do a little research and decide which comic run of Ant-Man I'm going to be reading. Okay, so I found on a couple lists this Avengers Academy, specifically The Fear itself. I am unfamiliar with this title entirely, but screw it. This is what we are going to be diving into for the foreseeable future. Next, we're going to see which TV show I'm going to be watching. Now, this is the smallest of all the wheels with only 31 entries. Mainly being is this is the one that I feel I'm going to commit to the least, and the one that'll probably take me the longest to get through a single selection. So, but we have 31 entries. These are all films, or I'm sorry, these are all TV shows that I have been somewhat into in some capacity or have some interest in viewing. So yeah, let's get into it. Round and round and round we go. We have, oh shit. Okay, that's not bad. Dune Prophecy. So I have seen the first 2 Dune films. I recalled this coming out, but I just didn't get around to it. So cool. It would be nice to be caught up in that universe at least. And finally, to close out the wheel segment, we have the film selection. So we are going to start with this wheel where it decides whether or not I'm going to watch a standalone, and then we'll return to the wheel next episode. Or if I'm going to select a franchise that will take over several episodes. Alright, so this is the biggest decision, and it's just 50-50. Oh, okay, okay. So here we have the franchise wheel. I'm going to let you know just because it's kind of in the title, but Fear of Boredom. So I am very partial to superhero films and horror films. So a majority of these are going to be horror franchises, and then some slices will have something to do with maybe superhero movies. So, but we'll wait until we get there before I explain that portion. Give her a spin. What are we going to be viewing? Creepshow. Okay, the Creepshow franchise. I'm not familiar. Okay, so I found the fan wiki of Creepshow, and it appears to be an anthology series created by George Romero and Stephen King. There are 30 films and a TV series, so I think that I will for sure try to get through the 3 films. So, yeah, that does it for the wheel section of Fixation Station, and back to the desk. Well, my fellow unmedicated, we've made it to the end of the first episode. Really quite the feat for the both of us, if you ask me. I'm going to take the time for the people who did decide to stick around and see what weird little show this is to say that I'm just very appreciative of that alone. To be honest, I don't know where or how this is going to go, but at the very least, I can say that I have a foundation to grow from. I like this idea. I'm comfy with fucking with the format. I'm just happy that this thing is fucking made. So to add on top of that, even to consider that someone is currently watching this, especially this moment right here, it's more than I could ever ask. I want to preface mainly for myself that I'm not even expecting 3 people to watch this video or to watch this series even. I made this for me, and everything else is just icing. So with that, thank you so much for joining me on the start of this journey. Next week, we'll check on my progress on the fixation selections and perhaps have some more spins. Please feel free to comment below on any thoughts you may have on how the show can improve or just thoughts in general. You can always reach me at my email, both on the screen and in the description. Make sure to subscribe if you want, but only if you liked as well. And I hope to see you here again next week. But if not, we'll save you a seat for next time. To send us off, myself, with some reflections on the show and how I hope to be better. Okay, so I think I'm going to keep this first closing thoughts portion, whatever the hell this is, pretty slim. The main things that in terms of reflections on this first episode, I do still like the ideas. I think I'm going to tweak the format for the next one. So I literally just got done editing it. The only thing I need to add in is literally this portion here. So I think that I'm going to switch up the format a little bit, do the fixation station first, or do maybe the news, box office bullshit, and then fixation station, and then do current events. So that's my idea for right now. I feel good. I like the idea. I like this time frame that we're in, a little bit under an hour. Maybe we can get a little over if I find actual interesting things to talk about. And I'm just very happy to have a first step, I guess. I need to stay motivated, especially when it comes to watching things. I've been very, very lazy the past week, so need to stay motivated because this is coming out 2 days later than I had planned to. I want these to come out on Mondays, but that just was not in the cards this time. So, but yeah, I'm overall pretty happy. If I had to rate my feelings on it out of 10, I'd say I'm at a 5. We'll go a little higher. We'll say a 6. I'm at a 6. That's not a rating for the episode, but that's where I'm at. Yeah, we're doing it, but got some work to do. But I'm excited. So thank you guys again for checking this stupid ass show out, and I hope to see you next time. Later.